Well, let's get some analysis on this with political analyst, that's Mcebisi Ndlejana. Prof, good morning. Thank you very much for your time. I just had my colleague Vuyo here in the studio, Vuyo Mvoko, talking about yesterday and giving his take, his journalistic take on what people are thinking. A little bit of hope, maybe lots of talk, but should we be hopeful that we're going to see actual results? And pointing out, like Sandile Mswana now, the bite I've just played, saying that the ANC doesn't have structures to really carry through what it wants. It looks like the president and other members of the ANC are still relying on that much-aligned body called the Integrity Commission, which some people have said it's toothless.
Well, I think yesterday was some movement, because you have had a problem with corruption. You have had people who are intent on evading any accountability. And so what happened yesterday, you saw a president that finally showed up to assert his own authority, because he has a particular presidential mandate, which is creating ethical leadership, changing the ANC. But that mandate has not found expression. So yesterday, we are seeing the beginning of that. I mean, he set the tone for the meeting. He steered the proceedings of the meeting towards his desired outcome. He got his outcome and even went further to insist on delivering that message, which was unusual. And yesterday he was in charge, right? Yes, the top six, the other five were there, but it was his show. He answered all the questions. So that was a president who was asserting his authority, taking charge, and of course, other things still have to follow. For instance, in instances where people are simply accused but not charged, those cases fall under the realm of the Integrity Commission. That body has been a little bit of a Mickey Mouse operation lately. The decision to form it was taken almost 8 years ago. It has never been fully operational. It was not fully equipped, and neither are its findings binding. And so you will continue to have controversy around whether or not people should be suspended, because those decisions are subject to the approval of the NEC. And there, you really have a serious cat-mouse in the NEC.
Now, the president yesterday alluding to the fact that the Integrity Commission will be beefed up, and him saying that the findings of the Integrity Commission going forward and their report should be made bindings. That should be a move in the right direction if it happens.
Well, that resolution, Bradan, was taken years ago. He's not saying anything new. And the reason why it hasn't happened is because they have a lot of resistance against it. He wishes that they could be made binding. But the point is, does the rest of the NEC feel the same way? Because the NEC has to implement conference resolutions, especially the SG's office. And so you have accused number one, right, in the DSG's office, or rather the SG, who is meant to carry these things out. But if he is reluctant, then you are unlikely to have movement there, unless, as he seems to have promised, that there is going to be a team set up to make sure that these things do happen. So you do need a concerted effort. So what needs to happen from yesterday? Yesterday should not be a once-off show. He needs to stay on the ball, be consistent, because there's a lot of resistance. As soon as he moves his eyes away from this matter, nothing will happen, especially because, again, there's a lot of resistance within.
And seemingly yesterday, as you've said in answering my first question when we started, the president was in charge. He gave the briefing, which we haven't seen happening in quite a long time. Normally, it's the Secretary General, Ace Magashule, who seemingly was somehow muted yesterday, unless when he was answering direct questions. So should we be seeing this in a way, because we know of the faction that exists in the ANC, that Ace Magashule and his backers' fight back, the so-called fight back, is over?
It's not over. It's not over, Protein, not by a long shot. Because, I mean, these people are threatened pretty much. They could easily go to prison. And so no one wants to go to prison, especially when we're leading a very comfortable lifestyle. So the fight back will continue. But this fight back was always going to happen because you cannot have a president whose mandate is to renew the ANC, right, having won 2 years ago, and yet have a party that behaves right in the opposite manner. So you are likely going to have a confrontation. But one must also add that he has been emboldened by popular outrage. He didn't act willingly. He was pushed into acting by popular outrage. That's a good thing that he was able to respond, but I'm a little bit worried that he doesn't act of his own volition. He has to be pushed. And so one does hope that once he has gained this energy, he will sustain it. Because popular outrage might not be there. You know, he will be alone. He will have to fight battles alone. If he can do that, then we are on to something good.
Is there a lesson, finally, very briefly, Prof, there, if there's, in your analysis, popular outrage sort of assisted the president to move the way he's done, taking charge the way he's done, that the populace must continue to exert such pressure going forward, vociferously so, especially when the governing party begins not to act against corrupt or people who are allegedly corrupt?
Yes, people should speak up. You know, people get the leaders they deserve. We allow leaders to get away with things, so we need to speak up to set up the boundaries. But at the same time, Bradan, ordinary Joe on the street gets, you know, his attention gets attracted by all sorts of other things. Life is getting even tougher. So we'll not always be paying attention, and we might not show outrage at the right time. So those who are tasked with the responsibility of carrying this thing through should make sure that they do that. They should stay the course. You see, that's the thing that I'm worried about. If you wait to be pushed, but you don't do it instantly yourself, you know, so your momentum might be a little bit worrying to those who are watching. But I hope, having started, that the president will stay the course.
And let's hope, because he said those members who've been formally charged must step aside. We'll wait and see what's going to happen to the likes of Bongani Bongo, the likes of Zandile Kumeto, who have been formally charged. Are they going to be stepping aside anytime soon? We'll keep on watching. Thank you very much, Professor Mcebisi Ndlechana, for your analysis this morning on the outcomes of the last meeting of the National Executive Committee of the ANC, the governing party.